pay those off. Okay, I know it probably sounds a little bit different, but don't pay off the collection accounts. The reason being is a lot of times those medical collections, or whatever they are old, and if you take it and pay that off, it affects your credit score. In other words, to the negative. So when you pay those off, it's as if you're closing an old account. Does that make sense to anybody?
No, it doesn't make sense, but I understand.
You understand? So we want to make sure, I know it doesn't make sense, but you don't want to. So if you ever have to pay a collection off, we usually have clients pay it off at closing to where it doesn't affect them. So if you ever have a client in that situation, make sure they don't pay it off because it really can hurt, okay? So just one little tidbit for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
We have American Hope Shield, come on up, introduce yourself, and tell these people who you are.
Yeah, definitely. So, Josh Kwai, American Home Shield, or the Century 21 Home Protection Plan. And so, you guys, we have a great partnership. How many, who's new? Is everybody?
We have a few new people in here that probably, yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, how I work is, you guys, if you have a problem with the home warranty, if there's any questions, use me, leverage me. The contract is in-depth. You're not expected to know everything about a home warranty. Call me anytime. I just left some licorice that has all my info on the front desk. So that's a good spot to get it.
I'm realtors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys, I'm in the office frequently, and you know, I try to attend all the events. I'm here for you. Let me know how I can help. My main goal is to help you maintain that relationship with your client. So,
Josh has been a great partner throughout the years. We've known him for a long, long time. It's been amazing to take care of problems as you work through your listings and your purchases. So be sure to tap into him when you need. He'll leave some pamphlets for you. And of course, licorice up front. So,
yeah.
Josh, thanks.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it, man. So today I'm super, super excited to have the people here talking. First up, we're going to have Lou Tran. To watch Lou Tran's great journey that she's been taking is amazing to me. Because there's a person that comes shy, timid, and not quite sure where she was going to go with things. To watch her expand and take on this business and conquer it has been amazing. To watch her work ethic and the things that she's done, I'm totally at awe about what her team does and how the brand in which they've created and what it's becoming, but the journey that's yet to come and casting that vision to her team. And we have Justin Udy right after that. This guy, totally amazing individual, one of the kindest persons I've ever seen, but willing to help and show you how his business works. It's been incredible for me being up real close to him as he walks by my office and sees a new person in there. He's never failed to stop and say, hey, let me tell you a few things. Let me share with you what I've done, or the great importance of doing this. And I greatly appreciate that. So with that being said, Lou, why don't you kind of take us down that trail of telling us things about what you do.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Justin, for agreeing to co-train this with me. I remember the first time when I watched and actually listened to Justin when you spoke on the base cam, the light was turned off the whole entire building. You remember that? And everybody still came. Everybody still came. Cool. We took out a notebook, and I remember Lau was like, "This guy is so great. I need to write this stuff." Well, the room is not full today, but I guess the room is full, half full, more, you know, because Justin is here. I guess if I do by myself, I just have my team. but thank you so much, Justin, again, for taking out your busy schedule to do this. So he suggested I should just like give you guys a feel of how I started the real estate and how I run it, and you know this. I'm very new in the business. I only been in the business less than 2 years. So the person that been in the business longer is Justin, and he built a very, very solid team. And I thought it would be so useful for whoever want to build a team, or you new to listen from some of the advice that he give. I'm looking at his team, and I spoke with different team, and I would have to say Justin's team is one of the most disciplined team I ever seen. I went out, I spoke with Keller Williams, I spoke with different team, and I say, what did you do that is so different? And when I talk to him, I look how he run his team. I have to say this guy is very disciplined, and that's one of the reasons why he is the number one as a you know. So how I started my team is 2 years ago. I actually have Long, my brother, just translating for Vietnamese client because he's Vietnamese stuff. So so I asked him, why don't I help you do this? I work for Budweiser. After my brother passed away, I didn't like the beer industry. I was in Vietnam. I hated it. So I came back after my younger brother passed away. I want to find something to do that actually pay off all the debt that I have. School debt. I tried to start a business. It didn't went well. I owe a lot of money, and I just say, I need to do something that's fast. So I work for him for when I started real estate. He paid me for translating, and then I start to get into it. And then Rob Oki told me the stuff that I say, I have to get a license because I'm like passing my duty of translator. So I got my license, and then I recruited Julie. So Julie used to be a truck driver for 10 years. And then I talked to him, I say, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And he said, I want to flip home, I want to fix house. And so I told him, why don't you and we work together? And so he was driving at that time, and he had like 2 trucks? And I told him, so if I am to commit it with you to do this real estate together and Long, you need to sell off your truck. And he said, and when he sold, at first you say no, right? you say, yeah, he thought I was crazy. He said, well, I've been in the truck business 10 years. This is my livelihood. I cannot just drop it and follow you and do a business with you. And I told him, it's either you do it or you don't do it. So you tell me what you want. So in the end, he sold his truck, and then we decided we're going to get a real estate license together, and then that's how we started our journey. So in this business, when a lot of agents came and asked me, what is it that I do different than other agents? How did I build my team so fast? There's only 3 things that I do every single day. The first thing is I prospect. I prospect every day. I have my team at the peak every morning from 9 to 11. So even when they join my team, and every one of them can testify it, I make sure that I put it in my in-day contract. If they don't show up, I'm going to take away $100 from their commission.
Built-in accountability.
Yes, and it's not even like, we write up accountability and everybody sign. No, it's in their contract. So if they miss a prospect day, then then when it comes to the commission, I will take $100 out of the commission. So because you have to do things that nobody is willing to do, and for them to join my team and to be part of the team, they have to do something like that. So that way, because at the end of the day, I want them to make money. And sometimes you have to be the bitch, so that's how I have my team do it. And then so one thing is prospect every day. 2 is we dawn off. So we dawn off 3 times a week as a team. So 3 times a week, no matter how our schedule is, we'll dawn off. And we dawn off almost, for us, him and I, when we started the business, we dawn off almost every day. Every single day. In the afternoon, we dawn off like crazy. Even in the morning, we dawn off a lot. But the success that we find was in the afternoon, because in the afternoon is when you can get people at home. Because in the morning, usually you just find as you guys see, you find old people. that who wanna die in and out. So we changed our business to prospect early in the morning and then prospect late at night. When I talked to Justin, you said your team prospect once a night at night, right, on the phone. And actually, we try to do that. We try to go into that more of prospecting at night when the weather is getting bad now, that is too cold and people don't want to open the door for you. And another thing, the third thing that I would recommend for a new agent is to learn the script.
And the Bible.
Like, yeah, make the script like your actual Bible, and it's so useful. And when we prospect with you, right, Rick? And then our team, we do role play once a week with Rick. So we write down all the objections that we have as a team, and then every Thursday at 3 p.m. we'll have Rick come to our room and then our office, and then we would just role play with him of some of that objection that we have. But that's how I run the business. There's nothing that is magical. There's nothing that is, what did she do that is different? It's just hard work, persistent, and follow up, and learn your script. Because if you learn your script well enough, you can handle any objection. A lot of the people say, well, you say the same thing. Well, I say the same thing like every other agent, but I'm more confident because I know what I'm saying. And that's how I get off my listing. It has nothing to do with, I'm sending this special, advertisement. It looks so nice, so neat. No, it's not that. It's just hard work, persistent, and know your script. And you will make a fortune.
So Lou, when you're out door knocking, you're on the phone and you get a high level of rejection. I know you've talked a lot about people being mean, people being stubborn. Tell us a little bit about your experience, and then I want to follow on the end of that about how it is that every listing you take is at a 7% with a $9.95 fee.
So one of the things that I do when I started out, I try to please people. Like every door knock that I sign off, I'm trying to ask them questions. At the end of the day, when I spend 2 hours, I only can hit 20 home or 25 home. But when I refine of what is it that I want and how I'm gonna, it's in this business, as you know, it's all about the number game. It's about the number game, and it's about customer service. So then I figured out the more door I hit, the more chance I get a listing, the more chance I get a buyer. So when I hit, like when I go out and door knock, when people say I'm not interested, and then I will ask them, so what does it take for you to be interested? They say maybe 3 or 4 months later. I take their name down and I just leave, and I'll go to the next one. So on average, 2 hours I hit $100. So I walk really fast because I know that if I walk and hit every single door and there's one person that say yes, I'm ready, then that's good, right? So a lot of people, they try to come up with all the script and trying to come up with what to say, all this. All you need to do is say, do you want to buy or sell? That's all I ask when I go out and door knock. Do you want to buy or sell? And there will be people who say yes. There will be people who say no. And there will be people. I have a guy, and I told you this story. So last year I door knocked this neighborhood with lawn, and I have this old man came out of nowhere. So I door knocked on the house, and the kid show up. The kid opened the door and say, "Hey, what can I help you?" And I said, "Is your parent home?" He said, "My grandpa is home." And so I said, "Can I speak to your grandpa?" So the grandpa came up from the stair, opened the door, completely nude. Completely nude. And he asked me, "Can I help you?" I said, "You want to buy yourself?" And then he said, "No," and I said, "No." Because you have to.
Move on, right?
Yeah, you have to move on. I mean, you're gonna get a lot of that kind of stuff. You're gonna get people say, I have people who slammed it on me. I have people who told me to go back to my country. I have people who say that I cannot speak English. Yeah, and you know what? I just move on and I say, you know what? It's okay. You know, and I even have people say that if you step in my property, I'm gonna call the cop on you. And remember that one twin? He said like, if you down up my neighbor, I'm gonna call the cop on you. And I say, go ahead. So I still down up, and based on that neighborhood, I got 2 listings.
Wow.
But you are wearing different shoes, right?
Yes.
Julie wears those shoes. So we'll talk a little bit about, you know, the 7% journey, and then we'll transfer to Justin after that.
So when I started the business, you know, the standard was the 6%, 5%, and everybody. When I heard you talk about the 7% and George talk about, you know, you are worth 7%, and I thought I was worth 7% because my first listing that I got was a 7%, and I thought, you know what, I need to, if I'm gonna build the business and if I'm gonna spend off my life, part of my life in and work my butt off, I need to make the most money out of this business. And so I started, my first listing was 7%, and then Chu and I, we had this argument back and forth, and he said, you're too expensive, nobody wants you. You know, and so I told him, okay, that's fine. So why don't we do a test together, Chewy? The next 3 listings that we're gonna get, you're gonna do 6%, 5%, and 4%. And so we tested out, and 4%, it was the worst transaction I ever had. 5%, it was worth 6%. The client at the closing table asked me to give back my commission because he thought it was I charged way too much. So from there on, I told him, you know what? If you're gonna do it, this is it, 7%, and I'm gonna charge them 7% with $9.95. And if they cannot afford my service, then they're not the right client for me to work.
I love it.
And so from there on, every listing that I go, I would charge 7%. If I have to give up some of my commission to close a transaction while we're under contract, I'm okay with it. But I know I am worth that much. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know how much you are worth, you're gonna compete with other agents out there. You cannot compete with other agents out there because there's homie that's gonna be a flat rate. There's gonna be an agent that will take just 1% to list a home. So at the end of the day, you have to know how much you worth and are you willing to fight for it. And you have to be okay walking away from a deal, walking away from a transaction, walking away from a listing, and be okay with it if the seller is not willing to pay you that much. Chu and I, we have walked away with a lot of listings that we can take that the seller pay us like 5% or even 6%, and we say no. For you to work with us, this is how much I am worth because I'm gonna move everything, my team. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to help you sell your home, and that's worth 7. It's not worth 6. It's not worth 5. It's worth 7.
Now, here's the fascinating thing. The first year, out of the 53 transactions Lou put under contract, she closed 48 of them. She's on track for about 120 units this year, currently at about 80 closed, at 7% with a $9.95 fee. So I commend you in that process and the confidence you have in which taking your business and your team through this process. Thank you, Lou, for your time.
Wait, Rick, I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
the lower the listing and the lower the commission, the more problems you run into.
Without question.
You are basically saying no to all the problems.
Yes.
And so.
Yes, right?
That was awesome.
Thanks, Justin.
Lou, that was amazing. All the things that she said, I will tell you, so a couple different things, just so those that maybe don't know me or know me. I've been in real estate for the last 13 years. Really what happened is the year that I closed 48 transactions on my own was the year that I was never home. My health wasn't great because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was just doing everything. All I was doing was working. And it got to the point where I said, I have to make a decision of what am I going to do? Because I can only give so much, and I cannot grow my business anymore because I have no more time, okay? Now, I will tell you this. There is a difference, and there's a word that we hear right now a lot, which is the word hustle, right? Hustle, work hard, which is basically you muscle through everything. And I will tell you now, looking back, that me muscling through everything, I was cheating. Because I was pushing through all the things, and really what I could have been doing, which I was really good at, is I could have been more focused on those dollar productive activities, focusing on my highest and best use on a consistent every morning to every night basis in order that I didn't have to muscle through that pain. So that's number one. I will let you know that I think that in this business, so at that time is when I said, you know what? 48 transactions for me was an amazing, my life is a very simple life. I drove a car that literally was 10 years old and 230,000 miles all the way up until it literally blew up on the road like 4 months ago. Okay, and like full on was like gone, like had to be donated. Okay, like not kidding. So I did have a client that came up to me and he put his arm around me, and I had sold him a $1.7 million home, and he says, "I just need to tell you that you look completely unprofessional."
Nice.
But I'll tell you, it is kind of nice now to actually pull up in front of the house and walk in as opposed to park around the corner. Because I did that for years. But we went from, at that point is when I said, I do need some help. Because if I am going to grow, that's when we went from 48 transactions to 67 to 101 to 151 to 206 to this year around 230, right? Honestly, we probably could have essentially gone as high as 300, but truth be told, as I do find that you need to scale back a little bit in order to go forward. Sometimes they talk about, you have to slow down to speed up, and it's because you have to refine those processes. You have to kind of hone in and make sure everything is perfect. And so this year we are poised, essentially, where next year we will accomplish over 300, and the goal is to get 350 transactions next year. But we had to slow down a little bit, right? Like we'll surpass our goal by about 12, 13%. But again, sometimes there's a reason where we say to ourselves, are we just growing for growth purposes, just to say we have a number, or are we actually increasing and enhancing not only our livelihood, but we're increasing and enhancing our lives, right? And so I think there's a good balance between those two. The number one, when Lou had reached out to me, she was a couple things specifically she asked me to talk about. And one was, how do I stay focused? What do I do for discipline? And what would I suggest for anyone that is either brand new in the business or that's in the business to succeed? And I will tell you this. Now, I will say we are very disciplined in our schedule, but that's because I've learned a couple things. It is very easy in this business to be unprofessional, unfortunately. It's very easy to earn an $8,000 commission where someone didn't do a lot of work, whereas there's other ones that we should have been paid 15 to 20 because it took us 8 months and all of this work. There's a deal right now we're working on that the commission will be $267,000 to me. Wow. Guess how long I've been working on it? 7 years. Wow. Right? You work on those deals 1% of the time. 99% of the time, you do the business that actually produces money to you. Okay? That deal may not work, and it may not. And guess what? I am not attached to it. I could care less if it closes. I worked on another deal that was a commercial building, I remember, for 3 years. It was a $10 million purchase. I would have earned $300,000. Guess what? Very last second, they pulled the contract, and the deal was dead. 3 years of work. But guess what? At the moment, I wasn't anticipating it. I grew more and learned more, and I have been a better person. This year alone, I think we've sold 3 other commercial properties that have net around about $75,000 in commissions, right? And I would have never earned that had I not done the one deal that helped me learn. And that's just in this year. I mean, that was 8 years ago, So again, I think that there's a mindset shift of understanding that it's very important that we keep we're continuing to grow. And going back to what Lou, and I want to make sure your time is very valuable. So I took some notes so that I can make sure that this is very efficient, that you could, essentially there's some time that people can ask us, new questions. Is that the first and foremost, as I had mentioned, that my big thing was I wanted to make sure I needed to make a change so I could spend time to be a better father, a better person, to be able to have more time and freedom in my life. And that was my big why. I told in the summit, I talked about, for example, the Wright brothers, right? Wright brothers, there's the Wright brothers, and there's a guy named Samuel Langley. Samuel Langley had people that were college educated, he had grants from the government, and he just wanted to be recognized. He wanted to be the next Edison. He wanted to be a name and fame. Whereas the Wright brothers used all of their money that they used out of their bicycle shop. They only had people that hadn't been educated, that, some had an engineering background, but none of them had degrees. And they just wanted to revolutionize and put people in there. And what this gentleman, Samuel Langley, was a gentleman that continued to work and just get upset about things. The Wright brothers would take every single day 5 different sets of parts with them because they knew what they wanted to accomplish. And then in one day, they ended up having a flight. It ended up going about 120 feet. It was at the speed of somebody that would run at a normal jog, and they were the first people to take flight. Samuel Langley ended up getting out of the business. He could have improved on it. He could have enhanced it, but he only wanted fame, whereas the Wright brothers were like, this is what we're working towards, and they were nonstop. And even though they didn't nobody was there was no newspapers, there was no one there, but they were the people because they knew what they were working for. They ended up being the people that revolutionized it, did the patents and everything else. But it's because they had that deep sense of why they were doing it. When you have the why behind you, this is an exercise that I like to do with the people that work with me, because if I understand what their why is, it helps me to make sure that they're accomplishing what they want to accomplish, being what they want to be, because now all of a sudden it doesn't feel like work anymore, because you're doing what's true to you. You're doing what you want to accomplish. Now that could be, I want to buy a fancy car, I want to go on a vacation, I want to put my kids through college, I'm doing X, Y, Z. I mean, when we met, you wanted to pay off that debt. Like, that was the big old debt. And you guys, you paid off in a year.
3 months.
In how much was it?
100 grand.
100,000.
Nice.
Wow.
Right? She didn't say that.
Wow.
Right? But 100 grand, like, again, $100,000. 5% of the population of the United States makes 100 grand a year, and she did it in 3 months. So my point is this: when you have a why, a deep purpose, you will do everything and anything to accomplish it. So that, even though it sounds counterintuitive to this business, I'm telling you, having that why in front of you is so important. When you do your vision boards, do those things, that is why it's important. You have something in front of you. The difference is, I will say, vision boards are great, but you have to have the why. So if you have the vision board, take a moment, think about, why am I doing this? Is it for XYZ thing? Is it for time? Is it for energy? Is it for this investment property? Right? Like, it changes over time. Like, evaluate yourself every 4 months, because you'll buy that investment property, you'll buy that house, you'll buy that car, you'll get that education for your child, and it's just, we're continually evolving. So get your why concrete, get it in front of you, because that will push you through the hard times. When people slam the door, when people tell you to get off, they tell you people that FO, which I've heard 1,000,000 times, right? Right? So that's what I think. So that'll keep you disciplined, it'll keep you focused, and it does keep you moving forward. I wanted to draw this on the board as a reminder. I think that one of the things is we have to remember in this business, one of the things that I've done really good at is understanding that any business that you are going to run for yourself has to be a proactive business. I talked about it is very easy to succeed in this business because most people actually treat it as a part-time job or very unprofessional. If in this room alone we decide that this is a business and that we are going to provide a world-class customer service experience at the highest levels of expectations, we will completely change the industry. We are currently under attack where we are seeing 2 different worlds: limited service and full service. We talked, the discount, limited agent service that she referred to is, they only sell 40% of their properties. Whereas on our team, we sell 97% of all of our properties. There is a value and there is a difference. But we have to make sure that we are, if we truly expect full commission structure, we have to earn it. For us to expect anything from our clients is ridiculous because it's earned. Think about how you buy anything. It's because you feel like it provides a need that is absolutely fulfilling to you. When you shop at Nordstrom and you buy something different, you're like, I know what I'm getting and I expect to pay the price, versus when you get to Walmart and you buy it and you wash it 3 times and it rips, you're like, well, I paid like $4 for that shirt, right?
Yeah.
There's a different expectation between a Nordstrom experience and a Walmart experience. You have to decide now who you're going to be and what we have to do in order to be the absolute best, because that's who earns 7, 8, 10, 15, % commissions. I'll tell you folks, I've had folks that have come to me and said, I don't have a property to sell, I don't have anything to do, but I do need your information. And I've said, okay, well, I'm going to try. It's a $15,000 consulting fee, and that's what I can do for you. And guess what? They handed over a check. Wow. Because they saw value in what you could provide. And anyone can do that. Any recipe can be duplicated. Any person can do exactly and know exactly what I have. The only difference is I spent the time and the energy to learn, to grow, to progress. To this day, honestly, if I said my knowledge level from 1 to 10, I feel like I'm a 6. Truth be told, okay? And that's why I feel like I have to always be growing and enhancing, because there's just certain details that I am just trying to always figure out. In this business, it has to be a proactive business. It's the number one thing you have to write down is I have to be proactive. Unfortunately, what you find is most people that get into this business, if this is the world of real estate, they feel like prospecting is about this time. That's what people think, getting in. That's probably what I need to do in order to like make $100,000, drive a fast car. It's easy business, right? In reality, it's really like this. This is really what our prospecting is. But for the short term, it really, and I quoted Lou, but I know that for part of my life, it's probably going to have to be like this. If that makes sense? If you don't have any business right now, you need to be prospecting 8 hours a day. You need to be working Saturdays. You need to be working nights. That's just how it is.
Yep.
You want to build that database and have a database of people that are ready, especially when the market shifts. You have to be doing this. It's for a part of your life. And I will tell you, I gave up a season of my life. I'll tell you to this day, I can't even tell you the names of any of the Super Bowls, any of the World Series, anything sports related. I gave up leisure because I was like, I need to figure this out for the last 5 years. I just don't know, right? If you ask me, I seriously, like, there's players I have never seen. Like, I went to a Jazz game and I was like, I didn't even know who the guy was. He was like some famous guy, And it's just because I gave that up, right? And this is like me having friends. Like, I love sports. Like, I love sports and the fact that it's like energetic and you keep score and it's like top athletes and people that are amazing, like Olympians, right? When you watch the Olympics, you're like, you carve out time to watch the Olympics, right? Because there's like these people that dedicate their lives to just one thing. But this is something that is important, and I think we forget it. So if for some reason you're not succeeding, you need to remember that you're not paying the price. The ticket to success is hard work. It's the only way. You have to pay the price. If you do not pay the price, you cannot expect anything. It is the law of the harvest. You cannot plant a seed and expect it to grow if you don't give it water. You can't just stand in front of a fire and say, please give me heat, unless you give it wood and fire. You have to put in the effort and the time and the energy. I want you to write this question down. How do I show up as the highest version of myself? How do I show up as the highest version of myself? And then I want you to, at the end of that is every day. How do I show up as the highest version of myself every day? And what I'll tell you is that the number one item in us knowing that it's a proactive business is the first thing is your habits. When you have your habits, and I would write this down, habits will decide your future.
I like that.
You have to have a morning ritual. I will tell you, you have to. You can't be up later than 6:30, really. If you want to achieve at the highest level, you cannot get up later than 6:30. Really, you should be getting up probably more around 6, because in that schedule, you have to be exercising. You have to, I'm not saying go crazy and like my back hurts right now. I'm like running yesterday because I'm just like, have been running, I'm just like weak in my running. And, but this is because number one is energy is everything. If you want to do this, you have to have this. That is the key. I don't work out because I love it. I work out because I need this. Energy is everything. And if you put that in your mindset, it changes kind of the way we think about things, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm able to accomplish these things because I'm working harder and I'm doing more. Part of that would also, in that morning thing, is you just have to make sure you're doing something for your mindset. Just like Lou said, you're going to hear everything in the book that'll stop you from succeeding. And then the other part of that is basically doing your implementation, right? Now, the one thing that you should be doing every single day on your implementation is you are going to follow a plan. And all you do is prospect, lead follow-up, attend appointments, and negotiate.
Wow.
That is your job.
That's nice.
Everything else, then what you need to write down is what everything else is a distraction, a threat to you, your family, their needs, your wants, everything that's going to get in your way, and it is going to be something that will, they're vampiring your time. If you think about that on your morning schedule, 3 hours a day, that it is taking you everything away from you, you won't ever get away from it. Now, the hard part is after an appointment, or we get done with an appointment, what's the first thing we sometimes do? Well, I'm done with this.
Relax.
Start checking them, start doing texts, start dinking around, even if it's only 5-10 minutes. But guess what you could be doing? You could take at the end of that appointment, you brought 15 different business cards with you, and now you've knocked the next 10, 20 doors on that street because you're already out in the middle of freaking nowhere anywhere. And you probably got an hour of sunlight, right? Everything is around that. That extra 30 minutes will make all the difference because guess what? Everybody else just goes home. Everybody else just goes to lunch. Everybody else just stands by the water cooler. Like, I can't tell you how many lunches I've missed. I can't tell you how many. I don't go to lunch. Like, if somebody wants to meet, I say, bring the lunch here and let's do it in my office and talk. And like, because it's just, I hate to say it, like, I'm not saying, I go to lunch with my friends like every 6 months, people make it a habit of going every day. Like, I'm just saying, like, there is dollar productive time that I just know needs to be spent a different way, right? Focus on the one thing. So 2 is focus on your highest and best use. What's the first rule we learned in real estate we think is location, 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 right? But truth be told, the number one thing we learned in real estate is its highest and best use. And we don't apply it. What is the number one thing I should be doing, which is my highest dollar productive activity? Which is this. Doing the work of getting in front of people. Next thing is I'd say you have to live in your calendar. Why? Because it helps you avoid the distractions. If it's in your calendar, you do not budge. Now, truth be told is we're probably out of your calendar. Like we're kind of like, well, I could have been doing some other things right now, right? But that's why you have to make sure that people know your calendar. That's why they leave messages about certain times of the day, when I'm going to be there, when I'm going to call back. Like, hey, I'm unavailable after 6:30 this evening, right? Like that's my message, because I have to be present for my family. I have to do different things that I'm able to do because I haven't been. But it's because I was living in a different world at that time, where I found that I needed to set some boundaries in order that I could utilize my highest and best use was used differently. That's why, you're stopped doing those other little things. Next was just really continue to grow and read and be coached. You're doing your number one thing, but then you have to continue to enhance yourself. That's where that limited service and full service comes from. You have to continue to keep going up the scale, because we will plateau where our skill level will be good, and it's actually better than our others because we're practicing it more, but we have to be intentional about our growth. We have to be intentional about listening to podcasts, reading books, being more, getting better. Being intentional is hard, and it has to be in your calendar, right? After my kids go to bed is the time I have to read, right? Sundays is the time. I don't write my journal every day. Sundays is the time I have to write my journal, right? Just like get my thoughts out, get my dreams out, get the things I want to do, okay? And then finally, world-class customer service. That is the only way that we can serve our clients at the highest level to earn the highest commissions. And the other thing is that I didn't mention to you is when I have those 48 properties, the one thing that allowed me to grow a team that a lot of people don't know is my investment properties. That's what allowed me to afford a full-time assistant. That's what allowed me to afford the extra person where I lost the income, where I put all my buyers away. It allowed me to do those things because I owned investment properties. So I would tell you this, invest and buy a property a year for 5 years minimum, if you can do it. That is a goal that you should have written down. Invest in your business or invest in something that will give you money. I have stopped buying properties, but guess what I've done for the last 5 years? I've been investing into the business. And it's produced more than any investment property, but now I essentially have the ability to step back and do what I like, which is, now rather than me looking at a duplex, now I'm looking at like a 24-plex. And that's a big world difference, which is everything I ever wanted to do. But I had to build the business first, right? So reinvest in your business, treat your business like a business. That's all I got.
Wow. You guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys sharing your business and your experiences with it, especially with how crazy I know both your calendars are and how busy you have been. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. I had the opportunity today to actually sit in on Austin's team, and he had a quote. Do you remember the quote that you read?
It was a long quote.
It was a long quote. It's by Roosevelt, right?
Yes.
Do you have that?
I can find it.
I wanted him to read this because this is exactly what we're talking about. It was really a profound thought about what these guys are doing. You're going to have lots of critics out there saying you can't do it. It's impossible. It's the person in the ring that's really going through the fight that matters. Do you have that?
Yeah, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
The reality, these guys chose to step into the ring, discover their weaknesses and make them their strengths. It's being able to face your fears, getting back up. As we listen to these guys bring their lives together in their real estate careers, it's profound. Each one of you choose to be great. Choose to stand. Choose to get into the ring. Choose to fight. Look at what you need to do to get into this business and make something great. I greatly appreciate you guys coming here and presenting today. I hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you for coming. I know your time is valuable.
Go be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love your attitude. Sometimes you gotta do it. That's awesome. I'm really impressed with what you're doing with your business in such a short amount of time. Expecting this to be blown up. It's awesome. Justin, thank you for your words always. Thank you.